Bing bong.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Paddock Talk. I am Kyle,
And I'm Scott.
and like we've been mentioning on the last couple episodes, there's been a pretty extended delay in the F1 calendar just due to some races missing. Scott, so the teams have had a lot of time to develop their cars going into Miami. Um, so that's what we've been kind of talking about recently is like what teams were going to bring big upgrades, which teams were maybe going to struggle. I thought Aston Martin was bringing upgrades, but apparently they didn't. They were the only team not to. But what did you think of the upgrades teams brought going into Miami here?
I told you the only upgrade that Aston Martin really needs is to get rid of Lance Stroll. Yeah, I thought everybody did too. I thought Aston did too as well. I thought they were bringing an anti-vibration update. So, when Fernando Alonso goes to take a piss, he doesn't feel like he operated a jackhammer for 12 hours. Uh, Yet, no, a lot of the cars brought it besides Aston Martin. And if I heard the broadcast right, Mercedes didn't really bring much of an update, which makes sense because as we got into the race weekend, Mercedes kind of looked beatable. I'm not going to say they were beatable, but they looked like a top tier team, but they were outpacing the field like they were at practice every single week prior. Uh, Red Bull brought what was it called again? The
The Macarena wing, just the one that flips
the
upside down.
Macarena wing.
Yeah.
A
Um,
different variation of the one Ferrari brought, yeah, as well. But no, it looked like a lot of teams brought a bunch of different upgrades, and too many to talk. They shut Sam Collins off on his Tech Talk broadcast because there were just so many upgrades that he had to cover for 24 minutes, and it was just wild how many teams brought stuff to the table, and just how much money these teams threw these 5 weeks between the two races.
yeah, you bringing up the Macarena wing as well, Red Bull's iteration of it anyway. I didn't watch Sam Collins' Tech Talk. I don't know if he had covered that upgrade specifically, but just to me, like I don't know the science behind it, but it seems to work maybe a little bit more efficiently than Ferraris, just in my opinion. Because if you look at Ferraris, it kind of like flips like all the way around and kind of seems like it would be blocking air, but Red Bull's just flips like back and it seems like it allows air to flow through the wing a lot quicker. That's just me kind of like looking at it. I don't know the science behind it, but that's kind of one thing that had just caught my eye with that upgrade. But it,
It just looks like a bigger gap between the activator and stuff like that.
yeah,
And plus, when it flips back, it's like to me, it looks like it extends to the rear of the car, so it just helps with downforce just a tad when it does that. When it flips like that,
yeah,
it seemed to work.
and
Both Red Bulls seemed to look pretty strong throughout the weekend.
yeah, and looking at the speed charts, Red Bull was the second quickest car on pace behind Mercedes, and just slightly ahead of McLaren. Um, So yeah, clearly Red Bull has done something with their upgrades to make their car run a little bit better. I think, Hadjar's had his issues and it kind of continued this weekend, but Max definitely had an opportunity to win the race. I think he just got a little too aggressive off the start being Max and just driving his car to the max. So I think he kind of cost himself in the long run throughout the race. But it definitely seemed like those upgrades were working for Red Bull and clearly McLaren because, like you had mentioned, Mercedes, this is the first weekend they've looked beatable, and they actually were beat in the sprint race. McLaren ended up winning the sprint race for their first victory of the season, and I guess Lando's first victory of the season. But
Like we said last week, Lando and McLaren, love they love Miami. They just fucking salivate every time they see it on the calendar. And yeah, both McLarens looked really strong in sprint quali and in the sprint race. Another note I did have written down during sprint qualifying, Aston Martin's F2 driver. I'm going to butcher the fuck out of his name, and I really do apologize. Mary Boya? No, maybe I didn't butcher it. Set almost a second faster time in an F2 car than Fernando Alonso did in sprint qualifying in the F1 car. 8/10 of a second quicker let me repeat that again. 8/10 of a second quicker in an F2 car. Not even a good F2 car over a Formula One car. Kyle, as a Aston Martin fan, the floor is yours. How do you feel about this going into, was it the fifth race of the season?
Um, my my hopes just keep getting shattered that Aston Martin is making any progress on that car. I had actually just briefly seen that graphic that their F2 driver, yeah, had set the fastest lap of the weekend for the team, and it made me super, super depressed, to be honest with you, because this Aston Martin car just continuously seems to go down. And this is the first weekend where it kind of seemed like Cadillac might have been actually like pushing them for pace and kind of getting closer up there in the stack of cars past Aston Martin. But yeah, Aston Martin, they are just looking terrible and more terrible every weekend. Like I said, I thought I had heard that they were bringing upgrades to their steering column and engine. I don't know if they were counting those in like the upgrades that teams were bringing, but they clearly haven't seemed to bring any performance to the car. So it's going to be a really long season for us here at Aston Martin. I don't know if Fernando Alonso's GP2 comment would be appropriate right now because that car might be worse than a GP2 car. So I don't know, a GP2 comment might be a compliment for this Aston Martin car right now, to be honest with you.
It's a good thing that you run F3 there because hell, an F3 car might have been quicker. It's just super embarrassing when an F2 car, granted they're not running on the 50-50 hybrid split that the F1 car is, but the car is very simplified. It is a driving car. It's not a detailed piece of machinery. It's a spec car. And it's almost a second quicker. Like Lawrence Stroll has to be sitting in his, what I can only imagine, Castle Grayskull Skeletor-esque like throne, like just pissed off to no end. Damn it! I spent all this money. You know what? Let me try to do a Lawrence Stroll. Damn it! I spent all this money on my son's fucking racing career, and they can't even do shit. Like it's a fucking stupid. God, I wish he wasn't even born. And poor Fernando is like, no, Papa Stroll, I'm born. It's fine. And he's like, yes, yes, Fernando, it's fine. But it's got to be embarrassing to be an F1 fan of a team that can't even produce a a competitive car. I know it's new regulations. It's something. It's different power unit regulation and car regulation added to one, but almost a second. That's just so embarrassing. I'm glad since I've switched to Cadillac that got to root for a real U.S. team. At least they're improving week by week. You're seeing the improvements, and poor Fernando is just wasting possibly his last year in racing in a shitbox.
Oh yeah, 100% Scott, and you couldn't be more accurate in saying it is embarrassing because, like you said, they've been talking about 2026 as like the big where Aston Martin's really gonna put their name on the grid, and because they've been developing this car for multiple years, and all the money, like you said, Lawrence has put into the team, stealing high-end staff members from like every team on the grid, most notably, recently Jonathan Wheatley and Adrian Newey. So yeah, it's just been a complete embarrassment on Aston Martin's side this season. And no, it's quite depressing being a fan. I'm happy for you that Cadillac's doing well now.
I mean, rooting for Haas when they first started, every year it was like, it's going to get better. Next year, like Gunther's like, we're developing the car for next year. We're going to stop development now. We're going to develop for next year. And like, oh boy. And then next year comes, it's like, oh, Bahrain. They always run good at Bahrain. Oh, okay. Yeah, they got points. Sweet. And then after that, it's like, oh. Uh, and then Gunther, like 10 race in, oh, we're going to stop development. We're going to develop next year and we're going to have the car to beat. Yeah. And then it's, oh, the same thing. And then Gunther, the third year, is like, we're gonna and you want to get your hopes up, and it's uh, no, it's not gonna happen. Why am I getting my hopes up? It's like having Christmas Day in the trailer park,
Mm,
and Christmas Day comes, and you go down to the tree, and it's like, yay, Santa brought me nothing. Oh, there's an empty PBR can. Yay, we can make a spaceship out of this. That's what it kind of feels like to be an Aston Martin fan right now.
oh God, I absolutely, Scott. It's making me so depressed to keep talking about them. So, uh, we
Let's
can
move on.
please let's do.
Let's get into something better, the sprint race. The sprint qualifying, we'll just kind of quickly get through it. Both McLarens were wicked fast during qualifying. It's weird that, and let me pull up the qualifying unless you already have it up. For sprint qualifying, it was Lando Norris, Kimi Antonelli, Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Franco Colapinto, Isaac Hadjar, and Pierre Gasly were your top 10 for the sprint race. Like we were saying earlier, it's a big mix up. Lando at pole, you have a Mercedes second, Oscar third, you have a Ferrari. Like you have a big mix of manufacturers in the top six, and you get really anticipated for the sprint week or the sprint race. Kyle, go ahead and what happened during the sprint race?
So I had actually missed the sprint live, so I did rewatch it, but it kind of seemed like Lando dominated the whole time. I don't honestly have too much to say on the sprint, just because, like I said, I had missed it. I had just seen that I was very excited when Lando was performing well, just because of my bet before the weekend. We'll get into those later, but yeah, I didn't have too much on the sprint, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, both McLarens. It was a McLaren 1-2. It was Lando and Oscar. What have I been saying all year long with Kimi Antonelli in these race starts? Another botched race start, and he fell all the way to sixth place. Started on the front row and fell to sixth. But both McLaren, it was Norris, Piastri, Leclerc, Jorge Russell, and Max Verstappen was your top five. Both McLarens look really dominant. You go into qualifying for the Grand Prix. Kimi lights it up. You have Kimi Antonelli on the pole, Max Verstappen second, Charles Leclerc third, Lando Norris fourth, George Russell fifth, Lewis Hamilton sixth, Oscar Piastri seventh, Carla Pinto eighth, Gasly ninth, and Hulkenberg squeaked out a 10th for some odd reason in the Audi. And that was your qualifying order. Again, Kimi Antonelli, another pole for a Grand Prix. It's his third consecutive pole. He was on his way to do something that hadn't been done ever. When your first ever was it three consecutive first ever poles, and to win three consecutive races, your first three races consecutively. Going into the race week before he got pole, he was tied with. I'm going to see if I get this right. Damon Hill, Michael Schumacher, and Ayrton Senna as the only drivers to score three consecutive poles as their first poles. So he was in good company there.
That is,
Um,
yeah, that's very good company. I was gonna say, just looking at the my qualifiers, it had Isaac Hadjar in ninth. I know he ended up with a pit lane start. Do you remember what that was for?
that's why. Okay, that makes sense. While Hulkenberg didn't have a Q3 time, I
Yeah.
was wondering. I saw the Q3. No, I didn't. Technical nonconformity was the note.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I might have heard something about something being like, I'm not even joking, like a millimeter too large on the barge board or something like that, maybe. But again, those are how strict the regulations are, and that's the reason they have the scrutineers to check. But clearly he was caught
sure.
red-handed.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The notes here it says Hadjar disqualified for technical nonconformity, so it had to been something to do with with the body somehow.
Hmm. Because yeah, I was hearing Nico. I was surprised to hear you say that he was starting 10th, just because he was dealing with a lot of issues. I had his car lit on fire at one point during one of the sessions. He had an engine issue going into the race that we'll get into. But yeah, he just kind of had a tough weekend all around, Nico Hulkenberg. And I heard him and I had seen a news article saying that him and Matteo Binotto had gotten to a very heated argument after the Grand Prix. So things not looking too good over at Audi right now.
I mean, brand new manufacturer coming into F1, well, power unit manufacturer. You're going to have some issues. Hulkenberg's doing what he can to get that car close to the points. Gabriel Borletto, on the other hand, is not having good issues at the moment with that car. They'll get it figured out. They have a great team behind them in Audi, and you have the driver to help get you there in Nico Hulkenberg. I know he's been around the block for a while, but the guy gets results. He pushes that car to the max, and when you get maximum out of a car, that's when you can start tweaking it and getting more better, more better, more better, and then hey, they'll be in point contention in no time. They're looking closer to it than Aston Martin or Cadillac
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
hell yeah. Uh, did you want to just get into the race then, Scott? Are we all done with qualifying?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into the race.
Yeah, so right off the start, again, Charles and Lando, it seems like those upgrades we were kind of talking about earlier, it seems like McLaren might have found something with their starts. Uh, Lando and Charles had just an amazing launch off the start. Kimi falling back a little bit. Max also had a pretty good start. But again, like I was saying, how aggressive he drives, we know he loves going into turn ones and running people wide. Uh, how many times have we seen Max lock up going into a turn one, running people wide? He does it again. Kimi also locks up, and a bit of fancy driving from Charles, I thought, being in between them, him braking perfectly, kind of avoiding both of them as they both go wide, and then he ends up taking the lead coming out of turn one. Uh, and then again, a little bit of aggressive driving from Max, I thought, just trying to catch up, fix his mistakes. He ends up making a little bit of contact with Charles or getting very close and spinning his car. And then again, another bit of fancy driving from Max, and we've seen him do this in the past again, where he comes out of a spin, avoiding all other cars and continuing on. So just a bit of crazy stuff going on in the first couple corners, Scott.
It reminded me, I want to say Hungary a couple years ago, where he was leading, spun, did a complete 360, spun the final turn during a race, fell to 10th, and then marched to the field and won by like 30 seconds, some random stuff. But he's just got that talent. Like, I was watching Julian Palmer's breakdown of it, and you just watch Max when he's on the throttle, when he's on the gas as he's spinning, to not a flat spot the tires too bad, and to control that 360. Granted, it's luck if the other drivers are going to avoid you or not, but he made it through unscathed, and I mean he did have a hell of a race, recovering from that because I think he fell to 11th or 12th off the rip, and
Hmm.
then there was contact between, I don't know if you saw, between Lewis Hamilton and Franco Colapinto, where Lewis gave Franco the old "you're number one in my book" bird move as he passed.
Yeah, uh, I love seeing that
Oh,
stuff.
it was good. But again, another Kimi Antonelli. He fell to what, fourth or fifth off the start?
Hmm.
Was it? Because Shaw took over. It was Lando, Shaw, Max until Max spun out. I think he fell almost to where George was in the pack.
Yeah, Oscar had a
One
pretty
day he's
good
going to get
launch
these race
too.
starts down. Yeah, both McLarens did. One day Kimi Antonelli is going to get. I feel like a fucking broken record every time I bring this up. I say he's got to get these race starts down. He's got to get these race starts down, and luckily he's in a car. Obviously, when we go through the race, he's in a car that's good enough to overcome his fuck ups. Eventually, he's going to get hit. It's going to affect the drivers' championship, and there's nobody to blame but yourself. You're the one. You can't blame the car for getting off the start. That is all on the driver. That is getting your tires warmed up to the proper temperature and releasing the clutch and getting the proper rev rate to not spin your tires. That's all on the driver.
Yeah, and he's gonna have to fix that soon because, like you were saying, the teams, and kind of like we mentioned earlier, the teams have made or they have shrunk that gap to Mercedes. Mercedes is still fast enough to withhold throughout the race, even though Kimi continues to get these shitty starts. Um, but at this rate, soon enough, maybe even in Montreal with McLaren bringing another upgrade, uh, Mercedes and Kimi might not have the performance to withhold those bad starts throughout the entire race and come back and end up winning. Um, so it's going to be a little interesting to see how the development race continues to play on with Mercedes and other teams just kind of catching up. But yeah, I think
Oh, for sure. Oh,
no,
sorry.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
But yeah, the grid kind of just stayed the same. I think Charles led for the first couple of laps going into lap 6, and then that's when some crazy shenanigans started to go on. Um, that's when Hulkenberg had his engine issue where he had shut off and he was forced to retire. I think it was after the contact, so Hadjar just dives hard into the apex. I can't remember what turn it is, but it's in the underpass section, that tight, windy underpass section. Destroys his suspension, hits the wall, street track, so they have to call a safety car. I think they took a while to call the safety car because during the same time, Lawson and Pierre Gasly are battling for position. They touch tires, and Gasly actually flips and lands into the wall. This is the first time I've seen an F1 car flip since Zhou Guanyu Silverstone 2022, I think it was, when him and George had contact. Um, but yeah, so safety cars called. I think Lando had just taken second position from Max at that time as well. Or no, Max was back. It was whoever was in second at the time. I can't quite remember. But he was moving up. And then, yeah, so just some crazy stuff going on around lap 6. They didn't call. Well, I can't remember what lap they called the safety car, but I think Max was the first one to pit around that time, and he pitted for hards on lap 9. And this is another move I feel like we've seen Max do in the past where he pits really early for hards. I think either betting that he can take them to the end or that there'd be another safety car. And I think he might have been able to fight for the win a little bit more, even considering his spin and some of the other things that happened, if he might have maybe waited a little bit to pit. I know the spin and the lockup, he might have had that flat spot, but I think just maybe a little bit too many mistakes on Max's end.
Which it happens. I mean, it's really hard, especially with an early safety car. And yeah, not as violent as Joguan Yu's wreck. Like, I look at it as akin to Hulkenberg at Abu Dhabi a few years back, where it was just in just a weird chicane and just like, oh, I'm upside down type deal. But yeah, still kind of scary when you're in an F1 car and you're going from looking at the track to then looking at the ground. It's a whole new perspective. But yeah, you just don't know with these early safety cars. Max does like to do that to either A, play the strategy game. Hey, I'm pitting. I think I can stretch these hards to the end. It forces the other teams to make the tough decision. Is it a one or two stop race? What are we going to put on? Are we going to try to stretch mediums? Are we going to go medium soft? Or hey, we're going to go hards and just stretch it out for the rest? Red Bull and Max like to play these games, and it would have worked, I think, if the car wasn't so far back on the grid. And also to try to make up those positions that he really lost early on was was another big factor of him doing that.
Yeah, I think Max absolutely could have fought for the win. I think it was definitely Red Bull's best chance at winning this season. Just maybe a compound of too many issues on Max's side that ended up costing him in the long run. On the restart, there were some battles for the lead. I think Charles was still in the lead at that point. Lando was second. Kimi might have been third. I can't quite remember the arrangement of cars there, but Charles ended up getting passed eventually, and Lando was in the lead. And dude, I was so excited. Like we're gonna get into my picks a little bit later, but that plus 1,000 bet I had on Lando, like my rumblings were they were finally doing something for me, Scott. I was getting so excited Lando being in the lead for multiple laps.
Yeah, uh, yeah. I'm trying to remember the race. I watched it on Sunday, and
Hmm.
so sorry if I'm kind of feeling scatterbrained here. I'll watch it as I'm kind of going through stuff on Sunday. End up kind of watching a little bit on my phone, trying to get around doing stuff. But yeah, where was? Yeah,
Cause
because the real pit stops didn't really start till almost a lap 30, correct? Is that where we're at here?
yeah, because Lando was in the lead up until that point, and Kimi had pit before Lando, so he was the first one to
Lap
pit out of the
26.
yeah, he was the first one of the to pit out of the front runners there, and Kimi's in lap or his out lap I think was so much quicker than Lando's in lap that Kimi gained track position when Lando ended up coming out of the pits because they pitted a little bit later than Mercedes, and Kimi ended up taking track position. He would overtake Lando as Lando was coming out of the pit, and just honestly wouldn't give it up the rest of the race. And even after the race, Andrea Stella said their strategy was kind of hoping on another safety car, so they might have just honestly did push the pit one lap too late in that sense. And
Which
go ahead.
which the under that's the undercut. That's can you get that early, can you get that quick advantage? That could be a second or two that once you get in front of that car that's chasing you, you can put the moves. And yeah, Lando definitely probably should have pitted. Granted, you don't know what the car behind you is going to do. But damn, did Lando try to get that lead back? I mean, there was
Hmm.
some definitely good back and forth between him and Kimmy. But once Kimmy gets that car going, he's pretty damn unstoppable. He can put it in places where you just can't get around him. I mean, it's just great back and forth. And I do remember I was trying to think who was in third at the time. Was it Shaw?
I think it was
They were like,
Charles.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because his engineer was like, let them yo-yo. Don't push too hard. Let them yo-yo, and just catch up.
Yeah. Yeah. The battle between Kimi and Lando was so exciting for multiple laps, and then like you said, Kimi just eventually I can't. It was like with 10 laps to go, maybe a little bit less. Lando started to fall back a little bit more, maybe realizing he was just maybe gonna bin it, trying to catch Kimi at that point, and maybe just didn't have the deployment to catch him. Um, but yeah, that was kind of just what happened near the end of the race. I didn't really catch too much else near the after the pit stops. I think Max finished third, right? So he ended up actually having a good recovery drive. Or no, he didn't finish third, did he?
No, no, he
Piastri
did
did.
not. He finished. It
Fifth.
was Oscar finished third. Max finished. I'm trying to remember because, as you recall, there were two post-race time penalties.
Mm.
Max got a 5 second uh, for going over the pit line when he left pit road. So he had dropped, and then Charles Leclerc got, I think, a 20-second penalty for something. I don't remember. I just
Uh.
remember I was sitting and I heard my notifications go off. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. So now that you
Because then
mention, go ahead, sorry.
yeah. Oh, I think it was unsafe coming back on the track because Charles spun on the track. It was either the last lap or the second to last lap, and I think it was like an unsafe reentry to that nature, and ended up falling to eighth place.
Yeah, Max, because they were talking about that on the international broadcast. why the FIA made it so they would review Max's penalty and give it to him after the race. They were pretty confused as to why they couldn't give it to him immediately, considering it's a pretty black and white penalty. He either crossed the line or he didn't, which he did. So they were a little confused as to why he wasn't given the penalty right away. And then, yeah, Charles, I don't know what issue he was having at the end there, but he was just going all over the track. Like you said, he spun a little bit, and then he was cutting apexes at corners a lot on the last few laps. So I don't know if he had an issue with the steering, possibly. So it makes sense that he would have been given that 20-second time penalty following.
Yeah, steering or brakes or some issues like that. Just ridiculous. But yeah, he ended up
Hmm.
getting caught, and kind of a good thing he didn't get like even a bigger penalty because he at least still finished in the points. And it's a full season. Every point counts. Just keep getting them until you get them.
Oh yeah. Did you want to move into my gambling picks, or did you have much else on the Grand Prix?
Oh no, I think we covered that because it was obviously Kimi Antonelli won his three consecutive. He's the first ever driver to win his first three races consecutively. Like he holds that record, and nobody else is. Not Senna, not Schumacher, not anybody. He's number one. So is Kimi Antonelli, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, George Russell, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Franco Colapinto, Charles Leclerc, and both Williams finished the race. Uh, Sainz and Albon, ninth and 10th. So that's just the top 10 for you. And yeah, let's. Kyle, how did your gambling picks go?
Amazing. So this is my first winning weekend, which I'm very excited for. I needed it just because the last couple weekends I've been losing way too much money. Like I had mentioned last week, I had Kimi Antonelli at plus 150 to win. He was tied for the race winner favorite with George Russell at plus 150 both. So, like I had mentioned, it was the first time George wasn't the favorite to win a race. And I foresee Kimi being the favorite going forward. Lando Norris I had at plus 1,000, so that was my only bet to lose this weekend. And it was close up until the end. So I think it was a pretty good pick to pick Lando before the weekend started, considering how him and McLaren performed. Going into my prop bets, I had under 18.5 classified cars at plus 120. That bet hit because of the stuff we had talked about around lap 6, where Nico retired because of the engine issue. Lawson retired after his contact with Gasly. Gasly clearly had to retire because his car flipped, and then Hadjar completely destroyed his car. So that was hitting the under 18.5 classified cars. And then Franco Colapinto, even with that, it there was definitely debris coming off the cars from his contact with Lewis, but he still had another solid weekend, finishing in the top 10 for Alpine. So Alpine's actually been performing pretty well, and as well as him. Like I had mentioned the stat last week that he's finished in the top 10 3 or 4 races now this season, so might be another good bet. And that was a price boost actually at plus 350 that I got on Colapinto. So just a pretty good gambling weekend all around for me here. My season record still is losing, but it is up to 3 bets won, 7 bets lost, and 1 bet void, Scott. So things are on the up and up in Kyle's race week picks or Krill's gambling corner.
Nice. So were you in Miami at all? Because you needed that one car to not finish in Nico Hulkenberg, and he just happens to have engine issues. And I just wanted to make sure mechanic Kyle wasn't under the car tweaking on it just to make sure it didn't finish.
Nope, a little sugar in the tailpipe or whatever that trick used to be.
Sugar in the fuel tank,
Yeah.
or I think Beverly Hills Cop. It was the old banana in the tailpipe.
Yep. Yep. I was down in Miami sabotaging cars.
Knew it. Nico, go up to Canada. We found what happened. It wasn't Bonato. It was actually Kyle. I will send you his address if you want
Uh, so good.
for Paddock passes, sir.
Yeah.
Hey,
Uh,
anything we can do to get in the damn paddock,
that's all we
I'll
want.
damn do it. Sorry, buddy. You gotta take one for the team.
Uh,
All right. So, your uh, gambling picks are
Hmm.
actually getting better. I'm proud of you, buddy.
Yep.
You'll be in the green in no time. A couple little news and notes throughout the week. The V8s are going to make the comeback. It's going to happen, man. By 2030 to 2031, we're going to have V8s. It's depending on whether the manufacturers can start working on them or when the Concord agreement is over, I think 2031, that the FIA is going to add it to. We're going to have ICE units just running on sustainable fuels. No more this battery operated bullshit. Maybe I think it might be a 90-10 or 85-15 power swap, kind of almost like they had with the Curve system in the late uh, 2009, 10, 11-ish, just to kind of help with overtaking. I'm so happy. Like, we're going to get the roar of a V8 engine for the first time in 20 years. So, so satisfying.
Yeah, and like you had mentioned, Scott, we keep hearing kind of 2031 and 2030, and those are when the new regulations are coming in. But it seems like every couple of weeks since the season has started, we've been hearing like dates moved up and up. They've said that there might even be a change as soon as next year, and I honestly think it might even be moved up a little bit into this year, of the power balance changing from 50-50 to 60-40 starting next year. So yeah, it kind of seems like everyone is kind of moving away from the 50-50 battery powered and just kind of trying to make things all electric. Um, the cars are heavier because of it, and they're more expensive, the engines to manufacture with these electrical power units. So it might help the teams with the cost cap a little bit, but no, like you said, I'm super excited to hear the roar of these V8s again. But yeah, it's super exciting.
Fuck, is the cost cap even a thing anymore?
Every team
They
is
they
against
always
it.
make this like I remember the first like 2 years of it. It was like, oh man, Red Bull, we're gonna find you because you spent $6 million on catering over the cost cap, and you're gonna lose 10% of your wind tunnel time. I don't hear shit about the cost cap anymore. I just it's just wild. Like normally every broadcast, it's like, oh no, another front wing is broken. That's 25. That's a that's £250,000. That goes against the cost cap, and now it's like, oh, he broke his wing. Uh, oh, they better get it changed real quick.
Hmm.
I guess they moved it because I think they did increase it with all the tariffs and stuff like that. It's now realistic. It's not really much of a cost cap.
Hmm.
Yeah, again, get rid of all these electrical equipment. That's why they got rid of, what was it, the MGUK? Yeah, the kinetic. So they got rid of the MGUK. That was like the most expensive part of the motor to help keep the cost caps down to get all these engine manufacturers in. This sustainable fuels are working. Why not just run a complete power unit off it? And it'll be fine.
Hmm.
I'm so happy that they're slowly making their way to that. As I was kind of hoping with this 50-50, they were going to slowly do it just to make sure the sustainable fuels worked and and we're going to be a thing of the future. I can't wait, man. Like, I guess we're going to have to get tickets to a race
Hmm.
and just sit right by the fence and hear, meow, meow, meow.
No, absolutely, dude. It would be amazing. Um, but a little bit of a question right now, Scott, is if Max will be even interested in racing in F1 at that point. There are some, still rumors that he would like to leave. I'm sure if they switch to V8s, he would stay. But if he does, there are some rumors that Red Bull is kind of eyeing Oscar Piastri as his replacement if Max were to leave or retire. Um, do teams charge other teams for driver swaps like that if they're under contract? I'm not too sure on that
So,
stuff.
so with the whole Piastri debacle, I think McLaren ended up paying Alpine like 10 million out of pocket to either talk or like sign him while he was still, I guess, under like contract with Alpine. I'm not 100% sure. I do remember, I think it was last year I watched Drive to Survive. And I do remember I thought Zach Brown was like, it's 10 million, well worth it or something like that. And the people are Alpine like, we just milked him for 10 million. And look at him now. Uh, but yeah, if Max decides, fuck it, like, yeah, I'm a almost billionaire now. I'm probably worth $600 million. I got a. I don't even know if him and Kelly are married at the moment. I think they're still just partners. They have a little one. Like, what does he need to accomplish? If Red Bull can't stay competitive, what makes him stay? And I think that would be a great thing to go after Oscar Piastri. If you can do it, if you, well, obviously you got to sell him first. Like, yo, this car is going to be developed because I really think he would rather be number two in a McLaren than fighting for 10th in a Red Bull. If they can, negotiate with Brown and everybody at McLaren, why not see what your options are? If Max gives you that opportunity, like, hey, I'm not doing it this year. I'm going to take a year or two off. I'm going to go rally racing. I'm going to go do endurance racing. This is for the birds.
hmm
Later, Chiefs. I mean, that's like your real. That's your only option. Like Hadjar again has the curse of the number two driver. He's qualifying well. The races aren't going well. Granted, it's regulation changes. They've been power unit changes, power unit issues through these races. This last one was obviously a. He got close the lap before, and then that lap, yeah, just drove the left front right into that wall. There's a lot of growing pains from that Racing Bulls car. I mean, you don't have that clear number one. Like Max was that clear number one when he jumped in a Red Bull in 2016 and put that team on notice. I'm your number one. I won in my first race stepping into this car. So unless Hadjar can prove himself this year and possibly next, if he makes it to next year, you have to start looking elsewhere. You don't have anybody in the pipeline. Start looking at other teams who wants look young. Oscar Piastri, him and Norris are relatively close to the same age. Does McLaren want that headache of two number one drivers, or do they want to pull up one of their reserve drivers to start getting ready to pass the torch when Lando ever wants to call it quits? It's something you got to look at. Man, that would be something though. Oscar Piastri in a Red Bull.
hmm Yeah, I'm kind of. If, say, Max weren't to retire, he were just to switch teams, because we've heard a lot of rumors that Mercedes, there's links between Max and Mercedes, and we know Mercedes is willing to get rid of George Russell. They had re-signed him late last season, I think, when they had finally realized that Max wasn't going to sign with them. So I kind of have this little love triangle in my mind of George leaving Mercedes, Max taking his seat. That would leave the Red Bull seat open. Oscar goes there, like you had mentioned. Do you think George would ever go to McLaren and be Lando's number two? But like you had just mentioned, does McLaren want that two number one driver issue again? Because George is a number one driver. Well, he's a number two this season, but that's just kind of the little love triangle I have in my head between drivers. Do you think Mercedes would ever sign George? And do you think George is even interested in going there? Theoretically, if these changes were to happen.
So yeah, the only thing I can see, and you're right, Max might go to Mercedes. I don't know why. Because I mean, Mercedes the last few years have kind of been really floundering. You saw some of the improvements last year, and this year now they're looking good. But why would you take that risk to leave a team that's developing decent, you're still a top five car. To go to another team and they possibly shit the bed and you're struggling for a top 10. I know at Toto Wolff he's very efficient as a team principal and as part owner of that F1 team. Like it won't be for too long. I don't know. It's just weird seeing Max in that Merc silver, and maybe that's why I can't wrap my head around. But yeah, I can see him go if say does go to Mercedes. Toto does offer him that money that money he can't refuse. I don't know if George goes to Red Bull, and I don't know if he goes to McLaren. Like maybe Red Bull, but I'd still think if I'm running Red Bull, I'd rather Oscar Piastri over George Russell. The guy doesn't bitch and complain. He's not that prima donna driver like George Russell is. Oscar Piastri is that stone cold, ice in his vein driver that you just want. Like you just shut up, let him drive, and he'll let you know about the car afterwards. Just let him do his thing. I think that's kind of what Red Bull would prefer over George Russell. And again, do you bring him to McLaren? No, like bring up your. You have F2 guys. You have guys been in the system for a while. Why would you hold them back even longer? I mean, George would probably have to go to a middling team. Wouldn't it be great if he goes to fucking Williams again?
Goes back to Williams.
Oh my god. I
That
think
would
that would be fantastic.
the metamorphosis would be
Or
complete.
honestly, with Alpine going to a Mercedes power unit, I honestly would see him go to Alpine to replace their number two driver so he can be the kind of number one over Pierre. But Pierre will still be the number one to the team in their heart because he's French. That would be kind of more realistic than him going to McLaren.
Hmm. Yeah, I like your thoughts on it. I like how Aston Martin was never mentioned just because they're an afterthought right now when it comes to all these elite drivers. But no,
But why the fuck
I
would you
like your
want
take on it.
to go there?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They're an afterthought right now. They don't look good at
Like
all.
I didn't say, oh man, I love him in Cadillac. No, because what the fuck would he do in Cadillac besides bitch and complain? I mean,
I would take George.
he he would be a number one driver at Aston, but like he's still going to be driving Aston Martin, and Lance Stroll's still going to be his teammate.
You're always the
Uh,
number two to Lance in
you're always
Lawrence's
the number
mind.
two, always. Uh, but yeah, do you have anything else to add to the show, Kyle?
No, not really. Did you still want to tease next week's episode and what we were kind of thinking for that?
Oh man, I am off this week. I'm so damn sorry. I
Oh
think
no,
we've
you're
just
good.
both of us had just like the weirdest weeks in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, so next week seems to be the way of the road. No race weekend or no race next weekend. So we're thinking of bringing back the classic review. And since Canada is well in the States Memorial Weekend, now that Monaco has lost that date to Canada, to review a classic Canadian race. So on YouTube, poll, Facebook, Instagram,
Hmm.
we'll be we'll be posting different classic Canadian races. We're gonna let the fans decide which one we cover. And then next week, we'll do the damn thing and cover a classic race. I like doing the classic races. I think the fans like it too. They seem to engage really well with it.
Hmm.
I'm excited. What do you think, Kyle?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a good way to drive the interactions. Like we had gotten around 25 votes, I think, for our last Jetta poll. So yeah, it's excited to just get the people involved. And yeah, like Scott had mentioned, we'll probably throw up 4 or 5 different Canadian Grand Prix. I think in our mind we were already thinking 2007, 2008, 2011, 1995 races along those lines. But yeah, just very excited for another classic race review.
Possibly the best F1 race in Montreal 2022. Our first ever F1 race that
Yep.
we've attended live.
Yeah, we were in the crowd for that one, so we didn't get to see the broadcast. I think we had watched it at the hotel after, but multiple years ago, we had so much sangria that day. It was hot.
Almighty.
Um, it was a
You
good time.
screamed El Plan, I think. How many laps was the race? I think probably three quarters every time Alonso would go by. El Plan! El Plan!
How many laps is Montreal? Like 72 or something like that? Yeah, 72 L
No, it's
plans.
like 40 something. It's like 40 something to 50. I think 52. So yeah, it was probably like 48.
Oh yeah.
Classic. But yeah, we'll leave it up to the fans. We'll put the cutoff date probably Tuesday or Wednesday next week. So be sure to get on social media and YouTube and vote so we can cover it. I guess that's going to do it for the show. I'd like to thank everybody for listening, interacting with us on social media and YouTube. Well, we like doing it every week. We just love just talking about F1 and just getting on and just interacting with the fans. So please just follow us Paddock Talk on Spotify, Apple Pod, YouTube, and on social media with Facebook, Instagram. Just follow us, interact. Like I said, we will have the polls probably tomorrow or when you guys are listening. Yeah, Saturday or Sunday, depending on when you guys are listening of the weekend. Please interact. Let us know which race to cover. Thank you, everybody, for making this podcast as fun as it is. As always, I've been Scott.
I've been Kyle.
We'll talk to you guys next week and cover Classic Canadian Grand Prix. Thank you, guys.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Paddock Talk. Don't forget to like and share the episode and check out Paddock Talk on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Discord.